Hi everyone, welcome to Infinite Light. My name is Shawnee. I'm not doing a tarot reading today. This is a message that has been speaking to me for a couple of weeks now, and I'm not even sure if it's exactly where it needs to be. So if I need to do a part 2 and then relabel this video, I will. But this is for the person, again, and I've done videos on this before, but this is for the person that's like, I'm doing the healing work. When is my chapter going to change? When is my new beginning actually going to be in front of me? When am I going to start seeing these blessings? Okay. And I got a quote, and it's a quote. A man was talking about God, specifically talking about God during the time of Moses, when God is speaking to the Israelites, or almost like a notion of God telling the Israelites, I did not take you out to become nothing. Okay, so if we were to look at the book of Exodus all the way through Deuteronomy, Moses brings the Israelites out of Egypt to go to their promised land. It brings them out of slavery to go into their promised land. And this takes 40 years. They escape the anguish and the slavery and the control of the Egyptian pharaoh, only to be in the desert before years and years and years, like I said, 40 years before they actually reach their promised land. And they go through so much during that time. And a lot of the peoples that were being led out of Egypt, after a while, were like, what is going on? You know, if our God is truly as omnipotent as said to us throughout stories, why are we still in this desert? And it's funny because there was miracle after miracle that they witnessed, and still some questioned. Miracles like the 10 plagues that initially got Pharaoh to finally say, yes, you may go, right? They saw all 10 of those plagues play out. And Noah prophesies to them like, hey, it's not going to be, I'm not going to get an easy yes from Pharaoh, but watch, our God is going to get him to a yes. And they saw each one of those plagues, and from their point of view, it would be considered like a miracle, right? And then they're led out, but before they're led out, God instructs Moses to say, listen, you're going to pay us for all of this time that we've given you free labor. We were supposed to be friends. We were here to support you before you sat on the throne, before your father sat on the throne. And you treated us so badly. So the Egyptians gave them gold and silver and other precious goods. So that right there is a miracle, because they went 400 years without this. And then so now they're leaving with money in their pocket. How many of you can say that you left your abusive environment with so much money in your pocket? So they left with money in their pocket. And then as they're going through the desert, there's like storms, like actual physical manifestations of like tornadoes and stuff that lead them through the desert to where it is that they're supposed to be going, so that they don't get lost, because they had been in the same place for so long and controlled for so long, they didn't know their way around. That's a miracle that they witnessed. Then they get to the Red Sea, and the Egyptians are following them, but they can't get to them because there's a whole wall of dust, like literal physical wall of dust, preventing the Egyptians to get to the Israelites. That's a manifestation of physical miracle that they saw a blessing. And then the Red Sea parts, and they walk through safely and get to the other side. That's a physical manifestation of a miracle, a blessing. And then, as the Egyptians are approaching, the Red Sea goes back over the army and the Pharaoh, and they're lost and they perish. That's a physical manifestation of a miracle and a blessing. They saw manifestation after manifestation after manifestation, got to a safe place, a safe haven, and were meant to hold themselves still. And what was meant to have happened was for them to say, we were saved, we were brought out of our place of persecution. Along the way, there was this blessing and this blessing and this blessing and this blessing to bring us to a safe place to pause, to find out who we are as a people. And yet still there were people that questioned. And at that point, people started acting out because they were supposed to go to this promised land, and at the other side of the ocean was more of the sea was more desert. Not this garden that they had imagined in their 3D world brain, right? But it wasn't just that it was their 3D world brain. It's because they had been so oppressed as a people for 400 years that they didn't even know where they were going, but they knew that they weren't there, and that bothered them. Even though they had witnessed, after leaving their oppressor, they had witnessed one manifestation of a blessing after another. And all they were meant to do were stay still and grow as a civilization into the people that they were meant to be. And so they started fighting each other and cursing each other and fighting within. And that inward fight of all of this oppression, of all of this non-self-realization turned outward into their community, right? So the individual was so upset with their unhealed selves and their present circumstance, because it looked to them like they weren't going anywhere, that they started outwardly being nasty towards their neighbor, towards their spouses, and so on and so forth. And then at that point, Moses goes up to a mountain for 40 days. He's gone to the point where people thought that he was literally dead, and receives messages from God saying, these are the rules and these are how you are supposed to govern yourselves. And even then, as he brings the rules down, even then, they are still in that desert. Why are they there? Because, like I've said before, they were meant to pause. At any time, God could have taken them from their oppressor and then right into the promised land. But what would have happened had that happened? All of the unhealed version of them would have just sabotaged their blessing. Their wounds, what does it call it? The wounds that you bring from your lineage, right? I mean, all they knew for 400 years was oppression. They forgot who they were before that, before the pharaohs of Egypt oppressed them as a people. They forgot who they were they didn't know about individuality, right? In their minds, they had a God that didn't talk to them anymore. And it was just because they were so closed in such a lack mindset. And negativity begets negativity. And that's all they saw. And so when you're given freedom after leaving an oppressor for however long you've been there, the longer you've been there, the more that you have to heal. And so I'm speaking to the person on the other side of this video, on the other side of my phone right now, that you're over here complaining, saying, I haven't received, you took me out of this place of anguish. Where is my tomorrow? Why has it not come yet? I will tell you why. It's because you still have the inner healing that you have to do. You have to be still. And there's so many doctors out there, relationship doctors out there, that say that if you've been in a marriage for 5 years and it's going to take 5 months to 5 years to heal all of the wounds that were oppressing you during that toxic marriage or something like that. And some people say, if you worked in this environment, so for example, I'm retired military, right? So there's a lot of stuff that happens in the military that when you become a civilian, you have to unlearn. And that's 20 plus years, depending on how long I'm retired. So 20 years. There's 20 years of this is how you function as an adult. This is how you go to work every day, blah, blah, blah. For 20 years, this is just ingrained in you. 20 years. And then you get out and the civilian sector is totally different. And that's why a lot of retirees go to work at like military-like Black Rifle Coffee Company, USAA, military-like organizations, because wounded warrior, because they don't know how to fit in this new society. And it's because they haven't taken the time to readjust, to get a different perspective. And they just throw themselves into that next step, that next chapter. Oppressors can look different. An oppressive environment can still do the same damage as an oppressive person, right? A toxic relationship, an abusive relationship. It's almost like as if the Israelites came out and they were all teenagers and they thought they knew exactly what was going on in life. I mean, listen, I'm 42 years old, but you couldn't tell me nothing at 18. You couldn't tell me nothing. You couldn't tell me nothing at 16. You couldn't tell me nothing at 22. I had it all figured out. And there were things that I had to go through in life and failures that I had to face because I was approaching life like that. Imagine going out into the world at whatever age you are now. If you're no longer in your young 20s or a teenager, imagine going out in the world now with all the knowledge that you have because of all the different experiences that you've experienced, because of all the things that you've learned, and because of all the things that you healed. Imagine. Sometimes I watch tarot card readers and they're like 20 years old and they've got all this insight. And I'm like, oh my gosh, if only I had that insight at 20, you're going to be a millionaire in a couple of years. I would have been a millionaire. I would have had the big house, the nice car. I would have had the husband that was my divine counterpart. We wouldn't have had to go through all that BS if I would have known what I know now then. But think about it. These people didn't know anything because they were oppressed for their whole life. And God said, I did not take you out to be nothing. I took you out of your strife to be somebody, to find your purpose and live in said purpose and prosper. But you cannot go to your next chapter until you take some time to heal and to learn from your last chapter. And you being in the mindset of when is it going to happen? When is it going to happen? When is it going to happen? It takes you further and further away from the path that you're supposed to be on, which is forward movement and momentum. I took you out to become something. What it takes to get free from a situation, and I'm quoting a thinker right now. This is not my own quote. But what it takes to get free from something is not the same thing that it takes to stay free. What it takes to get free from something is not the same thing it takes to stay free. When I have left, if I look back over my entire life, when I left an oppressive and a toxic situation, I left in full survival mode with my head on a complete swivel and just fire under my ASS. I was done thinking. I had been thinking for too long. I just moved. But I cannot be in that same energy to receive the future love of my life. I cannot be in that same energy to receive the house of my dreams. I cannot be in that same energy to receive, a better, a brand new car, or, a better balance in my bank account. I cannot, because there's got to be some nurturing and some learning and some applying. You cannot be the same person that you were when you survived your way out of a situation in order to welcome in a new situation. When you go into this next chapter, the one thing that you know for a fact that you have to release is the old version of you. 40 days, 40 nights, 40 years, 400 years. Hopefully it only takes like 40 days for you to figure this out. But if you're years into this, here's your solution. You need to find a new perspective, okay? The numbers, I like numbers. So the number 40 comes up a lot. And if the number 40, fours and zeros, 4040 are coming up with you, then that's reassurance. Those are your guides reassuring you that you are where you need to be, and you're becoming centered, okay? But becoming centered does not mean you are centered. You wouldn't be watching this far in the video if you were, all right? Unless you just love my energy that much, right? Okay? It's all going to be okay. You will be able to physically watch something come to fruition. You will be able to see your blessing after blessing after blessing. You just need to pay attention. And then you need to be in the state of gratitude for said thing, right? The number 4 is security and safety. And the number 0 is wholeness, completion, and unity. You need to be feeling whole and complete and united with yourself and your higher self, your soul. I hope this spoke to someone. I really, truly do. I'm going to continue on this path because I feel there are others that need to hear it, and they need to hear it in different ways. So this sort of Moses message was for who resonated with that individual and that story. But I'm going to continue on this path because I want more people to understand that the way to get to there is through here. Okay? My name is Shawnee. Thank you for joining me on Infinite Light. I will be back for some more readings here in the near future. Bye. Thank you.